Welcome to the Total Soccer Show, and it's our latest batch of listener questions. On this episode, we're going to ask where Mauricio Pochettino is going to coach next. We're pitting countries with 2 colours in their flags against countries with 3 colours in their flags. And we're asking, what's going on with soccer in Turkey right now? Because it's looking pretty wild. Oh, my name is Ryan Bailey. Joining me today, Taylor Rocco's here. Hello, Taylor.
Hello, Ryan Bailey. I always love a listener question. I always love listener questions episodes. This one, man, I had not clocked that Turkish scandal at all. I don't know if there's ever been a scandal like it. I don't know how they're going to deal with it. It's going to be a fascinating one to get into.
I'm going to spoil the answer a little bit. They're going to throw mobile phones at each other? Is that how we resolve
with
things
betting
then?
apps on?
With betting apps, that's the problem. It's going to spread it.
I didn't place those bets. I'm a forward for Besiktas. I didn't place those bets. It placed it for me when the phone collided with my nose. The betting app was already open, and I bet against Besiktas.
18,000 times.
Yeah.
Apple Pay was flying through the air and it just caught my face.
Wow. What a question we've got coming up. One of many great ones. Graham Rutham's here to answer them. Hello, Graham.
Hello, Ryan Bailey. How are you? Are you looking forward to the return of club soccer this weekend? I know you've been desperate for the return of the misery of supporting AFC Wimbledon over the joy of supporting the best international team, and you definitely got this the right way round, I think, is what I'm learning here.
This window's confused me, Graham. It's confused my very essence because, as you know, I'm not the biggest international break fan, but we've had some terrific moments during this past international break, including but not limited to your Scotland going through and also England having a perfect qualification campaign without conceding a goal. But yeah, I'm glad that we are now on Saturday, as we are definitely recording, seeing the return of the beautiful game. Yeah.
I mean, I said it before the start of this window. This is the good one. November before a World Cup. Loads of good stories. September, we can maybe get rid of that one, which incidentally they are next year.
Yeah.
So you got your wish, Ryan.
I realize this is a slight tangent. In the aftermath of all the MLS calendar stuff, I was reading all these quotes, and Nelson Rodriguez has had a bunch of quotes out there, and he had a quote to ESPN about like this double break in September and October, and I read it. I was like, classic MLS speak. Like, what is this? Another term that nobody knows what it means. And I realized I was just ignorant, and that they are combining the September and October breaks into one, which, Ryan, I assume makes you very happy. And I felt the need to apologize publicly to Nelson Rodriguez, so I'm going to do that now. I'm sorry. It was my fault, not yours.
That's Joe Lowry there. Hello, Joe. Apologizing.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah. On this one. I am pleased that they're combining them. If they could just get rid of them both, that would be even better. But
Next step.
Next step.
Yeah.
Baby steps indeed. Patreon.com/Total Soccer Show is where you should go if you'd like to support us. It is the best way to do so, and we appreciate everybody who does so, including, but not limited to, Mr. Ira Jersey, who I got to meet in person last week in Miami in South Beach. We were partying with Will Smith. It was a great time. He's asked a bonus listener question, which is going on the feed about Football Manager. So if you'd like to hear that, you can hear that on our bonus feed. Graham is rubbing his hands together.
Really is my week.
The prospect. Yeah. This can't get much better for you, Graham, this week. Getting to talk about Football Manager on TSS Plus as well. You get bonus video content, including the best video we've ever put on TSS Plus this week from Graham as well. If you didn't catch that earlier in the week, please go
Toxic
check it out.
Tape says hi from a couple years ago.
Yeah.
If you listen back, Graham, I believe you'll hear that Ryan, I think it was a slip, but it still makes me so happy. The best ever video we've put on the Patreon this week.
Because it's the only one
from this week. Yeah, definitely so. Did Graham do the thing he threatened to do on TSS Plus last week at that game? Let's find out on the bonus feed. There's also access to our Discord.
Kerplunk.
Yeah.
He wore his brown pants.
You can join us on the Discord where we talk much more vulgarly like that as well. Patreon.com/Total Soccer Show. Let's get to our questions for this episode. First one here from ASB, who asks, which club will Pochettino manage after the 26th World Cup? And which USMNT player will he recruit to the club after enjoying working with them so much? Both the league and the player need to make sense, says ASB. So you can't say Max Arston, stupid sexy Max Arston, and Poch to Real Madrid, at least not yet. Can we? So, Graham, what are we thinking? Presumably Poch will head back to Europe, or maybe there's the Argentina job that he picks up. Who knows? Maybe he's always wanted that.
Well, maybe he's going to coach host nations at every World Cup. So he'll be, next World Cup, he'll be coaching Argentina, Paraguay, Uruguay, Morocco, Spain, and Portugal.
Does he share an apartment with Infantino? Is that why he's doing this?
He wants to maximise his chances of winning a World Cup, so this is how he's going to do it. I genuinely, to to kind of get us back on track a little bit with this question, I will be interested to see what level he goes back in at, Poch, because for a time he was seen as a tier 1 coach, right? He got the PSG job and then the Chelsea job. Neither of those jobs go especially well. And so I'm unsure how much stock Premier League clubs, because that's where I think he ideally would like to go back. He continually talks about it and how much he misses the Premier League. I'm unsure how much stock any of those clubs will put in what he does as US manager if it is not a run to the semi-finals or something outstanding like that.
Even then.
Yeah, well, exactly. So I don't have a great read on if the best clubs will want him. I know Florentino Perez really liked him when he was at Spurs, and Perez is one of these guys who doesn't really care about what the outsider stock is of managers. He just does what he wants to do. He keeps getting Ancelotti back. I think Mourinho thinks he's in with a shot of going back to that club. So it could be Real Madrid, I guess. That wouldn't overly surprise me. But I guess the boring answer is probably Tottenham, given how much open flirting he has done with them since leaving. And then if I was to make some other nominations, maybe Newcastle works for that kind of level. Hear me out on this one. West Ham, if they get new owners, which it seems like they're edging towards that, and they're a London club, he lives in London.
He's not going to manage a championship, though, is he?
Well, yeah, that's true. Or League One, the way West Ham are going at the moment. Another kind of similar suggestion of that ilk, maybe Everton. New owners, new ambition. Things seem to be going relatively well.
Leave David Moyes alone. Leave him alone. Let him find happiness.
Moyes is doing okay right now, but things can change very quickly. They've obviously got the new stadium. It's a new era, so I can imagine them seeing Pochettino as like an ambitious hire, and they could potentially lure him. Other than that, I really don't know. I'm interested to see what you guys think.
I've got one. I thought a lot about this one. First of all, I'd like to thank Amon-Ra St. Brown for this question. That's a reference for Joe and no one else on this podcast. I'm assuming that's who ASB is. I had a similar line of reasoning there of, I think unless it's like an undeniable, wow, he has made this team incredible, everybody's back in for him, I don't know how much the U.S. making a run is going to matter. And then I also think there are teams that would appeal that are in stronger positions. Like Spurs is the obvious one, Graham, to your point, but Thomas Frank seems to be doing okay there and seems to have a plan, and they've just appointed him. I feel like it would be, short of like a massive downswing in form, I think it'd be tough to sack him next summer, even if Poch is available. I think Chelsea have had enough. That's not going to go well. I think City and Arsenal are pretty stable where they are. Like maybe if Slot goes off the rails at Liverpool. And so I think if it's going Premier League, Newcastle is a great shout. I did not have them on my radar. But I think there's a lot of teams that also don't want his style. Like I feel like Madrid would get into trouble really quickly with him not wanting to be this possession-oriented smothering teams, even if that's not what actually Real Madrid do. It still is like what they like to believe they do, I think. And so that could be a problem. I think Bayern Munich have proven themselves to not love a personality or a big personality that tends to like ruffle feathers, and so maybe they're happy sticking with Vincent Kompany. So I landed on Atletico Madrid.
Hey, they're on my list.
There you go, because there's like the Espanyol connection with Poch means like maybe he's got antipathy towards Barcelona, but maybe he would enjoy taking over a team that could cause pain to Barca and and Real Madrid. And Atleti could be that. Obviously have the defensive approach already. So if you want to transition them into a pressing team that like scores wonderful attacking or counterattacking goals, that might be like an upgrade in the aesthetic. And so the players that I think allow him to do that are Seb Berhalter and Max Arston and maybe Diego Luna. Let's bring them all in and see what happens. No, I mean, I think it's really anybody that's going to like come in and do the job and like not ask questions of him at all, but just be like, yes, sir, I'll go out there and kill somebody. No problem. And I feel like that maybe is Seb Berhalter, maybe it is Diego Luna, but I think it's that like level of player, the players that have become his guys, quote unquote, that I think would appeal to him were he to take over a gig like that.
Yeah, I'm significantly younger than Diego Simeone. I also kind of think that Diego Simeone will still be coaching Atleti when I die at a ripe old age. That's the question mark here. Simeone's contract runs through the summer of 27, so he would still have one more year on his deal. I don't even know if Atleti are ever going to part ways with Simeone. I would kind of enjoy a change there, and maybe Pochettino could be that guy. But Taylor, they were on my list. The thing that I struggle with Atleti, or really most of these big clubs, does the U.S. have a player who's good enough to go with Pochettino? If we're going to satisfy the terms
Johnny
of
Cardozo,
this question,
baby! Woo-woo!
Yeah, does the U.S. have a player who's good enough to go with Mauricio Pochettino? Graham, you mentioned Real Madrid, so maybe we'll start there. Or Bayern, because Taylor, that came up. I don't think the U.S. has a player
Not
that's
at
good
that
enough to play at either one of those clubs. Atleti, I think now we're talking, right?
Richards?
I mean, maybe. I don't think so.
Tottenham? Think so?
Not at Bayern, not at Real Madrid.
Not quite.
Tottenham, sure, maybe, maybe Atleti, right? I mean, I think Atletico Madrid is a very good club.
Joe
It
hates Chris Richards. Got it.
Yes,
Cool.
that and Gio Reyna, and then you've just really got and
Christian
Balogun.
Pulisic.
You've really got me pinned down. I think it's difficult to satisfy that part of the question if Poch is going to an elite club. I had maybe Espanyol back as a possibility. A Poch return to Espanyol again. And at that case, you could bring Luna with you, potentially. You could bring maybe a McGlynn or an Arsene with you to a club like that. I just like the idea of Arsene tagging along with Poch wherever he goes. That makes me really happy. My other two, the next one is Juventus. And maybe you just keep Wes around for all the international breaks at that point, and Poch just has whatever he wanted, which is for Weston McKennie never to play soccer at the
What if he
international
goes the
level.
other way, Joe? What if he goes the other way and it's like it takes
oh,
over
Wes, you
Juve,
can
like
go.
international break, get out of here.
Dude, you have nothing to prove to me. We know what you can do. We know the player. Okay, get out of here. And my last and probably most wild card option. While I do agree with Graham, who led with the Premier League being the subject of Poch's desires and his deepest inward being, because he talks about it all the time, like Graham said. Poch has also made a lot of kissy faces at Major League Soccer since he was hired for this job.
Yes, Joe.
What if next season goes really poorly for the LA Galaxy and Greg Vanney gets fired and Pochettino comes in? I don't know. I think it'd have to be a big MLS club.
For the sprint season?
Yeah, just in time for the sprint season, Ryan. I mean, that's electric stuff. I mean, Graham, you don't think so? You don't think there's any world in which he ends up in MLS?
No, not that. I think there's no world where he ends up in MLS immediately after the World Cup, after leaving the US, just because I think there will be a Premier League job. And I think, look, I have no idea, I'm speculating here. I think Poch loves the Premier League so much and wants to get back into that arena so much, he'll probably go quite far down the Premier League to get back into that league. So even if it's like Crystal Palace, no disrespect to Crystal Palace, I could kind of picture him there at some point. And if we're talking about those clubs, it's just much easier. It's just what was that, Taylor?
Southampton again. Get him back in.
Yeah, that is the champo. And I just think if we're talking about that level of club, it's just much easier to pick US players. Like I think Balogun for West Ham or Everton would be a good fit. I even think Atleti make some big signings, Atleti, but they also do sign sort of B-tier players a lot of the time, Johnny Cardoso being one of them. And so Balogun to Atleti have just got new owners at the start of this month. Apollo have taken over Atletico Madrid, so it's not out of the question that potentially there's a parting of ways with Simeone in a couple years' time and they want to go a little bit more modern rather than continuing to play Simeone ball. So I don't think that one's out of the question either.
Can I make one other suggestion? Napoli. What if Pochettino went down to Napoli, to Naples? Not only is the Naples and Sorrento a lemon-based economy, quite literally, if you've ever been there, you'll know it
That
is.
is good. That is good. So much limoncello.
So much limoncello. But it's a kind of what Conte I think will be done this season or next. The timing might work out there. I could see one or two US players fitting in at Napoli as well. Does that work?
That's a great shout. Bring Pepe with you to Napoli. I'm on board with that. I'm super sold.
Yeah, it's an environment that would suit Poch very well indeed, I would imagine. ASB, thank you very much indeed for that question. Hey, let's have a quick snack break. Come back with your snack for the next break, and we'll talk about 1v1 defenders and who the best. Join us then. Total Soccer Show, welcome back to our listener questions. Clay W has been in touch with this one. Clay asks, what makes a good 1v1 defender? And why does it seem like this skill is so rare? Who are some of the best 1v1 defenders in the world? Joe, say the name we think you're going to say. Do it. Joe, say
Virgil van Dijk.
Yeah.
I mean, it is,
Aaron
right?
Wan-Bissaka.
That's the answer.
Taylor.
All together now. Wan-Bissaka. Okay.
Not Aaron Wan-Bissaka.
I think this is a great question. And I want to break down each individual question because I think there's three in here. What makes a good 1v1 defender? And then I'm very curious to hear what y'all have to say because y'all have played more soccer than I have. I think things that make a good 1v1 defender, primarily there's two buckets. The first bucket is speed. The second bucket is positional intelligence. If you don't have speed, forget it. If you don't have speed, you cannot be an elite 1v1 defender. If you also aren't very smart, it's going to be really hard for you to be an elite 1v1 defender. But speed is the line that you have to be able to cross to enter this conversation. I think the positional intelligence bucket is the more nuanced one. Obviously, fast is fast. You need acceleration. You need quick ability to accelerate. You need speed over longer distances. The positional intelligence bucket I think about the Maldini thing of where to stand, right? If you're positioned in the right place, you're going to have the advantage. You know, if you make a tackle, you've already done something wrong. I think there is some truth to that, really, or someone around you maybe has done something wrong. That's kind of how I would amend that quote. But you want to be standing in the right spot to make your life easier, so you don't have to be the fastest person literally alive. You just have to be fast enough. Body positioning, I think, matters a lot in making sure your footwork is in the right place. Which foot is forward? How is your actual stance? Where is the weight on your leg? And then also knowing when to dive in, which is maybe more intelligence than positional intelligence, but not going in too early. And that is something I think the greatest Dutch soccer player of all time, Virgil van Dijk, has done quite well throughout his career. Why is this so rare? Why is it so rare to have 1v1 defenders? I don't know if that's true, right? I mean, it's rare to be elite in anything, right? That's how elite works. But I do think that it has maybe been more difficult for 1v1 defenders to thrive in modern soccer in the style than how it used to be. And I talked with Tyler Heaps, CSO at San Diego, about this, not recently for this question. I didn't just phone him up for this, but for stuff in the past. And he has sort of theorized that 1v1 defending just isn't as emphasized for developing players, young players, today as it was, say, in Ryan's favorite decade, the 1990s. You hear Phil Neville talk about how at Manchester United they didn't train tactics. I'd imagine they were just training a lot of 1v1 stuff, and there was a lot more hard-nosed, prove yourself in training kind of stuff happening in the 90s. Also, I think that there is much more pressing now. I think it makes it harder for defenders. I think life is just harder for a defender now in 2025 than it was in 1995, because if you're pressing high, you're leaving your defenders more isolated now than you were when the mid-block was all the rage. And so now to be an elite 1v1 defender, your life is harder. You're defending so much more space in that 1v1 than you were when you have another defender 8 yards from you to your left and another defender 8 yards ahead of you. I think the life is more difficult now as a 1v1 defender now than it probably has ever been in this sport. So maybe there aren't as many great 1v1 defenders now as there used to be. Maybe it's always been a rare skill. Either way, I think the context around it has gotten harder, and yes, Virgil van Dijk is the answer.
We definitely spend too much time together because my bullet points for this are pace, body position, position on pitch, so positional awareness, knowing when to intervene. Is it rare? ? If it is, modern football is a factor, which Joe basically, in that order, went through. So I agree on every single count there. And I've also got Virgil van Dijk. I've got a couple other suggestions. Aaron Wan-Bissaka is genuinely one of my answers because it was such a specialist skill for him. They call him the Spider. That's his nickname because it seems like he's got 8 legs, I guess, when you're trying to get away from him. Very limited in other ways, although he's actually been pretty decent in an attacking sense since joining West Ham. But trying to get past him, there was that. Was it Raheem Sterling when Raheem Sterling was a thing? Man, remember that? He just always had a nightmare game against Aaron Wan-Bissaka, and it was such something he was very, very good at. Van Dijk, I think, is probably the answer, but William Saliba is a very good 1v1 defender. And sticking with Arsenal, I think Urian Timber as well has, particularly this season, has been exceptional. So I don't know if I agree that it's rare. I just think the modern game puts defenders in more difficult positions in that sense.
To take that last part first, I think you all have covered a lot of the ground very, very well. I would just say I also think it's a strange one to talk about like the best 1v1 defenders in the world, because ultimately I think like defending, it's just easy to look bad in moments. If a striker misses 5 shots badly, but then they score 2 goals, everybody focuses on the 2 goals and how elite they are. If a defender wins 5 1v1s, but then loses 2 badly, they're kind of a laughingstock. And I think it almost requires the narrative to be that this player is elite. There has to be like, oh man, here's this 1v1 defense and this 1v1 tackle and this one and this one and this one. This guy is truly elite, and then they become like consensus elite. But for every time we think a defender is kind of reaching that level, they get beat 1v1, and then it's sort of like, well, maybe not. And so I think ultimately defending is less glorious in that way because you just are that much more likely to be criticized. But the players that don't end up making those mistakes, I think you all have done a really good job of outlining a lot of the characteristics. There's 2 other ones that I think are really important, and Virgil van Dijk embodies them both. I think he is the best answer at this one. Number 1 is just calm. That I think in those situations when you were up against an elite attacker, if you are panicking and sort of, oh no, and trying to kind of react to everything they're doing, you are in trouble because by that definition, you are reacting. And once they are fully leading, you're sort of trying to deal with what they're throwing at you. But if you're biting too hard on the second feint and then you dive in and you get beat, like you're sort of reacting and panicking in that moment. And I think Virgil van Dijk to me is someone who's always seems very calm and seems very much and like analyzing, evaluating the situation as it develops. He seems to have incredibly good situational awareness. So much so that the second thing he does that I think is really unique and elite is that he oftentimes tries to take the lead and he throws out moves himself. He will throw out like a little feint this way and a little back step this way, and it's meant to make the attacker take an extra step, to make them take a heavier touch, thinking, oh, he bit on that feint, I can take a heavy touch to then, with my next touch, take a shot, but he wants you to take that heavy touch. And I think in that way, Virgil van Dijk kind of reverses the roles a lot of the time, and instead of reacting, he, if anything, is leading that 1v1 duel and then is able to kind of do what he wants accordingly. And so I think those two things as well, combined with speed, physicality, positional intelligence, all those things, makes him a truly world-class defender.
Absolutely. I'll note that the Spider is a very good 1v1 defender nickname. I like that.
Good, isn't it?
Not just because of legs, but you can get caught in their web. It's got multiple sort of meanings. One of Wimbledon's best ever 1v1 defenders back in the 90s, my favourite decade, was a gentleman called Chris Perry, who also played for Tottenham afterwards. His nickname was The Rash because he's all over you.
Oh, man.
I played with a guy, Nana from Ghana, who we called, in varying forms, the Inspector or the Gadget. But it was largely because he had, we would all say, go-go gadget legs, because every single time you thought you were by him, he'd just stick out a leg and stick you every time. And so, yeah, I like the Inspector as well, even if the Spider seems more ominous and scary.
Very good. One other question I'll have, and this is sincere. To be a good 1v1 defender, do you have to be good at running backwards? Or sort of galloping backwards, haunched over, like a spider?
A little bit, right? Like you need. Man, sorry, I was going to say something funny.
What is being bad at it? like is it just like, oh, I fell over? Can't do it.
My legs don't go that way.
Don't fall down.
Left or whatever.
Don't fall down. Just don't fall down. I think you need to be good at changing direction quickly. So you need to be able to go backwards, but then pivot out of it and accelerate. I think that's how I think about it. But just don't fall down. Problem solved.
That's probably helpful, yes. And let's change direction quickly away from Clay W's question. Thank you very much for that. We go to Alaska Footy, who asked this one in our Discord. They say, after your Soccer 101 episode up against Premier League rivalries, check out Soccer 101 if you haven't, it got me thinking about a follow-up question, says Alaska Footy. How has promotion and relegation of teams affected football rivalries, derbies, or otherwise, if at all? For example, I know West Ham versus Millwall is considered an intense rivalry, but the last time they actually played each other was in 2012. This is an interesting one because I suppose, Taylor, most rivalries we see are teams who play each other a couple times a season. But in the case of Millwall West Ham, which is one of the fiercest rivalries, if not the fiercest, in London, they've not been in the same division very often in the modern era. So I suppose it's a good question from Alaska Footy about how true does the hatred stick around if you haven't played each other for a decade?
I believe the answer to that is yes. Follow-up question for me. Is West Ham Millwall a derby? Like, I know they have the ultras that, like the firms that hate each other and whatnot, and I assumed largely that like that was the root of that rivalry. But is there more to it than that, or does the kind of firm on firm violence come from the existing rivalry?
It's that they're reasonably close in London to one another, and by being both in London, it is by its nature a derby. But yes, there's a lot of fan history between them.
Yeah. So I think good to know. I think to the question itself, it seems like it goes on hiatus a little bit, but it's still very much there. And so the one that I thought of immediately was Hamburg and St. Pauli, where Hamburg are in the Bundesliga for a very long time until they weren't, and then they met in the second division, and it rekindled. But St. Pauli were up and down, so when they'd be in the Bundesliga, it made it that much more intense and that much more special, because it's here they are finally playing against each other in the top flight, and then when they're not, it becomes they're meeting in the cup, and it becomes that much bigger of an event, bigger of an occasion. Same thing for Manchester United and Leeds, when Leeds were poor and well out of the Premier League. That was another one where I never really got the weight of that rivalry myself as a fan, because since the early 2000s, if that, it's been a while since Leeds were like a true rival, a true threat, and a true hated enemy the way I think other teams have become. But I remember them meeting in the League Cup, and the stadium, normally a quarter full for a League Cup early round game, was packed and raucous. And I think the intensity and the energy will be there when those situations arise. But along the way, I think it just becomes kind of a dormant thing where one team is clearly more dominant than the other.
Was that the Jermaine Beckford game? Leeds win that game,
yes,
right?
it was.
Yeah,
Yes.
and I kind of remember Leeds being good.
call.
And
Man, Graham, well done. Jeez.
yeah, I don't know where I pulled that one from. Honestly, we spoke about this last week. I remember games from 15 years ago much more vividly than games that happened 2 weeks ago. I don't know what that's about.
But your daughter's name is
it starts with an S, I think.
Is it 'cause
Cynthia.
you drink more now, Graham?
I think it starts with an S. Is it Scotland have qualified for the World Cup? It's something like that.
Scott
so-
McTominay Ruthven, officially named.
That's right, yeah. Scott McTominay, Ballon d'Or.
Oh, great.
I remember Leeds being good. I was aware of that rivalry. It wasn't like I didn't know, but it wasn't until that game that I realised, oh wow, this is like seriously fierce. And it's just because they've not played each other very often. I think similarly of the Portsmouth-Southampton rivalry. They're both in the Champo this season, but obviously Portsmouth have been down in the doldrums for a while, and Southampton at the same time have kind of bounced between the Premier League and the Championship. I think most people, unless you're a Southampton fan, would agree that the better atmosphere is when Portsmouth are at home, because I think Southampton feel, certainly over the last 10 years, they're maybe like above Portsmouth and they're like a Premier League team. That's where they're looking to be. And so the one derby we've had so far this season was at St Mary's, and I watched it and I was slightly underwhelmed by the atmosphere. But everything that I've read and been told tells me that it's going to be completely different when it's played at, I can't remember the name of the ground. Is it Fratton Park? Portsmouth play at.
That's their ground, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's going to be on fire, that game.
I lived in Southampton for 3 years. I went to university there, and it is incredibly fierce, the rivalry between those two sides. And Harry Redknapp going between those two sides as manager didn't help things at all. I played on the university soccer team, and where we played and trained was where Portsmouth trained. They came to Southampton to train. So like it was wild having like Harry Redknapp and Nico Cranchar and all the others who he brought with him coming in and out all the time, and they didn't get much. They got short shrift from the Southampton locals, shall we say. There's also a story when Southampton were building their new facility that one of the builders was from Portsmouth and put a Portsmouth shirt in the walls, which still remains there.
That's
I love
awesome.
stuff. I love stuff like that. Like there's a Rangers fan was working on the roof of Celtic Park. This was a recent story, and like covered the entire roof in Union Jack and Rangers stickers, and then took a picture and put it on his social media, and he got sacked. So I hope that was worth it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very good. Joe, anything to add to this? Is there a big Casa Verde Phoenix rivalry that we don't know about?
Yeah, the Casa Grande Phoenix Tucson trifecta
Grande,
is
sorry,
like
goodness me.
the people knew what you meant, Ryan. The people knew what you meant. I know you love Casa Grande with all your heart. Yeah, huge rivalry. I wanted to ask Taylor. We don't have this in the U.S. because we don't have promotion and relegation. Did the Kickers lose any rivals as they've changed leagues over the years? Where they self-relegated right to USL League One when that became an option. Did they have a fierce rival in USL before that, or not really? I don't know what that's like.
I don't know if there was a fierce rival. I guess Charleston would probably be the one that, like, because they both claim to have been the oldest continually operating franchise. There was definitely some bad blood there. I think Kicker supporters enjoyed beating Charleston more than most other teams. Similarly, Rochester, maybe, I think, for similar reasons, because Rochester were very successful. So I think that was one where they both wanted to be, like, the dominant USL team. Kickers lost that war and then some. So, I mean, it's an interesting question, Joe, because you're totally right that it has been like teams that I think I used to care about going to see and beating. I don't really care as much these days, because even Forward Madison, which is like ostensibly a rival for various reasons, I just enjoy when they come to town. I like all the Madison people I've met, and so like it's weird to kind of root against them in the game, but then as soon as that game is over, I'm actively rooting for them. So I guess some have gone, some have come, but overall, nothing is like quite as strong as maybe that Charleston was.
There we go.
Yeah, they've got a battery. You should be careful fighting them.
Yeah, but they have kicks.
Got a
Lots,
legion
many,
of
many mighty
kangaroos.
kicks.
How dare you?
Those native kangaroos, of course, lest we forget. Alaska Footy, thank you very much indeed for that question. Hey, let's go to a break. Why don't we do that? And when we come back, we've got that wild Turkish soccer question and that battle we all need to know how it's settled, the 2 colour flag nations against the 3 colour flag nations. Join us then. Total Soccer Show, welcome back to our listener questions. Lady Eric of Dyer. She sounds so fancy. She's in our Discord. And the question is, what the hell is going on with the Turkish Football Federation? 1,024 players suspended and 371 refs being found to have had betting accounts is pretty absurd. Why is betting particularly bad in Turkish soccer? Is the league even fixable at this point? Asks Lady Eric of Dyer. Or do you think other leagues are about to get blown up in a similar fashion? Taylor, to reiterate and to corroborate Lady Eric of Dyer's question here on the BBC, Turkish Football Federation has given bans to 102 players from its top 2 divisions for betting-related activities. The punishments were of varying lengths, ranging from 3 to 12 months, and involved 25 players from the Super League. The disciplinary action comes after the TFF, the Turkish Football Federation, suspended all those players from its professional leagues on last Tuesday as part of an investigation into betting. So, Taylor, where do we start with this? That's quite a lot of suspensions, I would say, over 1,000.
Quite a lot, and that's just the players. We'll get to referees in a second. I should note, I think it's at least 25 are from the Super League, so the top flight, and then it's about 77 thus far are from the second tier. So it has impacted the Super League, including Galatasaray. Eren El Maleh and Metahan Baltaja of Galatasaray, both involved in this one, both saying they placed like a bet years ago. But it does have an impact. El Maleh withdrew from the national team this past window to kind of deal with the scandal, and also because he's been suspended, so he can't represent the national team. So it's I just want to make that clarification because it's not as though it's 1,000 players in the top flight, but it does seem to be a ubiquitous issue, and that's just with the players, as you've already outlined. Third and fourth divisions fully suspended for the rest of the season to figure out what to do because there seems to be a lot of match fixing. There seems to be a lot of betting at the very least. And then with the refereeing, as was outlined, you've got 371 out of 571 active referees had betting accounts. 152 of them were actively placing bets. So you have officials in the top flight, at least 7 top-tier, like A-licensed officials were actively betting, 15 top-level assistants doing the same, which, again, shows that it is a pervasive, widespread issue. I think there are a couple different reasons or things going on here. The first is, as a lot of the referees have pointed out, for certain matches, you evidently have to have a betting account to access the match that's being streamed by that betting company, because some betting companies have rights to, I guess, stream specifically lower league games, I think the second tier. And so you have to set up a betting account to access the betting app to then watch the game. At least that's what they are claiming. And so that's why you have so many accounts active. And then I think a lot of those did the like, oh, you get one free bet. Why not? And then they did it, which is still a problem. It is still illegal and frowned upon. But you have many, many more officials. I referenced it earlier. One referee had bet 18,000 times over the course of their account being active. 42 different referees had bet more than 1,000 times on different football matches. So there is the idea there that like the apps have become ubiquitous, and some of them even have streaming services, so you have to get them. So maybe it's less of a big deal, except that what this all seems like to me is that it's just become we're all going to turn a blind eye, we're all going to put our heads in the sand and not worry about it, because you also have owners and chairmen now implicated. Qasim Pasha was already placed under trusteeship in September because of a separate corruption investigation, but their board members have been accused of betting on matches. Same thing for Eyüpspor's president, who has an active betting account, was betting on games. It just seems like it's become a thing where everyone's doing it, so why not? And I think that is representative of a lack of oversight in the Turkish Federation. Worth noting, it's not the Federation who brought these charges, who kind of brought this scandal out. It's quote-unquote Turkish government agencies. They didn't really name who they are, but betting in the country is pretty tightly controlled. Most of the gambling comes through the state-owned company IDDAA. There are obviously some illegal gambling sites as well, but it's state-regulated, it's state-monitored, and so I think there is some state influence here and some state control, which is why there's then been involvement. But there's also been criminal allegations, accusations, arrests made already. It feels like it's going to get much worse before it gets any level of better. I don't know how they will deal with this. I don't know how they recover. There was talk of maybe suspending the top league for like 2 weeks to bring in foreign refs. That feels very much like a Band-Aid, and it also feels like they are going to then have to really deal with it in the public eye. And that doesn't seem like what they want to do. I think they're going to try to kind of mitigate this and make it seem like, it's more of a minor thing. It's a few bad apples, most forgetting what that phrase actually is, which is a few bad apples spoils the bunch. And that seems to have been what happened here. Is a few people started doing it, then everybody started doing it, and now it's a problem. And so I think it will be, we're going to put in training courses, and we're going to more strictly monitor officials, and we're going to ban for life the people who are found guilty, and we're going to issue these suspensions, and they're going to be very draconian on certain players and certain officials, and hope that that will be the thing that gets covered internationally, and then it kind of fades from public view. But I think it's a much bigger thing, for me at least, with Turkish football, because you look at like Jose Mourinho's accusations from when he's the Fenerbahce coach.
What other ones of his conspiracy theories are true?
Right? Like, that's the problem, is that he's there saying these officials are corrupt, they are making illogical calls, what they're doing does not make sense, and it's a huge reason why he ends up getting sacked by Fenerbahce, is he won't stop talking about it. And now I wonder, like, is that because they knew it was true and they needed him to be quiet and he wouldn't? Like, it casts a very negative light on Turkish football, deservedly so, and I don't know how they turn that around without wholesale changes and without really looking at how pervasive betting has become in modern sport. And to Jackie's question, I don't think this is unique to Turkish football. We've seen it with the NBA.
Yep.
I think it's going to keep happening. And I think there's going to be many, many, many more instances. And I think it's going to be one of the bigger scandals we've seen, where I think a lot of players bet on, like, you know, if you are a player playing in the English Championship, why not bet on the French top flight? Why not bet on the Greek Super League if you feel like you've been watching it and you have an insight? But you are not supposed to bet if you are an active player. And if you are an official, it is illegal, according to FIFA law, that you be wagering or gambling on any level of sport. I think it's any sport, but it might just be football, because there's an idea that you're gaining unfair insight. You have this referee network. You don't know what's going to be called. But if you have a friend who's officiating that game in another country that you met before, maybe there can be a betting syndicate there. And so, like, it creates so much confusion and concern and a little bit of chaos as well. And I think it's going to get worse, and I don't think it's going to be contained to Turkey, but I also don't know how you deal with it.
Betting it's even prohibited if you are like an off-the-field staff member. So one of the guys that I go to Albion games with works for the SPFL. He's not allowed to bet because of the FIFA code of ethics, and he's just like works in an office, like a marketing person. So, yeah, I think I would be surprised if anything the scale of this is happening in like British football, because there have been some, like Scotland a few years ago had like a flurry of suspensions for players betting on games, and it was just I don't think it was anything really sinister going on. It was just a case of them betting as you would like as a regular punter, and they pleaded ignorance and they got suspensions, and there hasn't really nothing's really happened since. Obviously we had the Sandro Tonali story in the Premier League, Lucas Paqueta one, which was ultimately he didn't get a suspension and was kind of cleared. But I think there's been a lot of scare stories for players to now not be able to plead ignorance, at least in British soccer, to how this sort of thing can completely destroy your career. I'm looking forward to finding out more information on, because when you read like over 1,000 players, 27 top flight players, how many officials was it? 371 of 571 current match officials.
Yeah.
Like, it's astonishing in scale.
But
that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm interested to find out what the real story is there, because surely to goodness that's not match fixing. That would be an institutional crisis that I don't know if Turkish football comes back from if that's the case. And so I just think logically it's surely not quite as sinister as that.
I mean, it's not. I don't think it's as sinister as match fixing, but you have 152 of those officials actively placing bets, and to your point, Graham, it doesn't seem like they're doing it with like code names and hidden accounts. It seems like they set up accounts with their names in them and then started placing bets. I don't, even if it doesn't extend to match fixing, it's just still, I don't love this phrasing, but like, it's a slippery slope of if everybody's kind of unofficially, whatever, it's a casual thing. I placed a wager here and there. Oh yeah, I'm officiating that game. Oh, you placed a wager on what? Like, you can see how it quickly becomes a potential problem. And so at the same time, I just don't know what you do with it, because like it reminds me of the South Park joke about like alcohol companies, where it's like it's an ad for alcohol, and it's just like, drink alcohol, drinking is fun. hot girls, fast cars, beautiful hotel, high life, drink more, and then it ends with like, please drink responsibly. Like, and it's sort of that same thing. Like, if you have a footballer who's wearing a shirt with like Betway on it, and then they're doing a betting advertisement and talking about how fun betting can be, and every podcast and news agency has betting odds, and here's my tip of the week. Like, it just becomes so commonplace. I do see how players could sort of, especially if you're a 4th division Turkish footballer, think, who cares? This doesn't matter. Everyone's betting. And then very quickly learn, like, oh, no, some people definitely do seem to care. Why am I behind bars all of a sudden? So it feels like an unfair standard that we are upholding, like expecting to hold players to. Maybe officials I have less patience for, because it feels like that's more of an intentional decision and you are capable of directly affecting outcomes. So, like, you're right, Graham, that like maybe it's not full-on match fixing, though I think the arrests in Turkey do relate to what's the quote here? To abuse of office and influencing the outcome of matches. That does feel like match fixing. That's 17 referees and a club chairman have been arrested thus far.
On the player side of things, 1,024 players, 25 of whom are in the top league. Mm-hmm. So if my math is correct, there are 4 professional divisions in Turkey. So there are 999 players from the 3 divisions below the Super League. That's like an average of like 16 or 17 players per team. How does that mean the teams can keep going?
They can't. They've suspended the 3rd and 4th divisions.
Yeah,
like that's what's going to happen. Yeah.
How does that resolve? Because that's a massive part of the talent of that whole divisional system.
Yep.
I think.
Don't have an answer to that.
No, I mean, I think the way it resolves is I think they hope that another scandal distracts and we can all and they can publicly prosecute a few people, make the arrests, talk about how they're going to limit the appeal of betting apps, or you can't have a betting app as a sponsor if you are 2nd, 3rd, or 4th division team. I feel like there's going to be a lot of lip service and there's going to be a lot of superficial maneuvering, and then they'll reinstate the league to start the next campaign, but with those players suspended and given a very stern talking to about gambling.
I love the thought of another scandal saving them from this original scandal. It's like the Mr. Burns illness through the door thing again. Indestructible.
Yeah,
but I mean,
there's another politician I can think of who also.
Yeah, I was going to make that. I was going to make that
What?
comparison, but I thought Mr. Burns was lighter.
But it's a very bad time for this to happen, because the Turkish Super League has been doing, I mean, it is always kind of doing the same level, but you have teams doing better in Europe, and you have a lot of names in the Super League, and it has gotten more attention. It has gotten a lot more attention, especially in that region of the world. And so to have this scandal come along, I think that's why there's a lot of confusion about how best to proceed, because if you want to truly eradicate it and root it all out, you probably do have to shut things down and figure out how extensive it is, how much match fixing and just influencing of decisions has occurred. And I'm not sure that the league can afford that, because it would just be such a high profile disgrace. I think it's easier to kind of keep things going and act like, oh, it was only like a few minor entities. Don't even worry about it. We've got it all under control.
Yeah. The question is how bets to proceed. Best to proceed. No, all right, we'll forget it. Yeah.
The first time. Yeah.
Joe, you can get 3-1 odds on whether or not the Turkish Super League is going to handle this effectively.
I think the real solution is for Turkey. I had not read that TV betting rights thing, Taylor. That's wild, first of all. I think the solution is just to move all of those broadcasts to FIFA Plus. Problem solved.
That's it.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
Graham would watch them.
By MGM.
Yeah.
I've just fixed the entire problem. You're welcome.
But I can't claim, I think you have, Joe. I can't claim to have watched a ton of lower league Turkish football. I think I watched Çaykur Rizespor when Freddie Adu was there. But everything I have read is that, if Jose thought the top flight was rigged, he should have watched some 3rd and 4th division games. Because there are apparently, every weekend, just very obviously suspicious calls. And I think I am correct in saying that is part of where this investigation came from, is just those moments where, that's obviously not a penalty, and that's the second time you gave a penalty. Oh, you bet on that team to draw, and they needed 2 goals. Interesting. I think it is that kind of open in certain instances that Jose was maybe on to something with. These officials seem to be making dubious calls. In the lower leagues, it seems like the opposite is true, and it was more like, oh, they made a good call. That's rare. That's fun. That wasn't corrupt at all.
Fantastic. That's the spirit. Lady Eric of Dyer, thank you for your question. Integrity clearly under threat in Turkey. Hey, Joe, speaking of 124 players, I was in a band called 124 Megabytes. It meant we always had a gig.
No.
Should we go, or what do you guys think?
I was trying to lighten the
No,
mood.
we stay. Ryan goes.
Okay, deal. Sold.
All right, let me do one more listener question for you. I'll try and bring you back in the room. Bruzel on the Discord asks this one. Taylor's very disappointed in that one. I thought it was good. Anyway, the gang has done vertical versus horizontal stripe flag nation teams. What about a European countries matchup of 2 colour flag countries versus 3 colour flag countries? Here we go. This is Bruzel's first time stepping out of the Discord shadows. Keep up the great work, says Bruzel. Thank you very much. You keep up your great work. Now, Joe, technicalities here. Spain and Portugal, are they 2 colour flags, or do they have lots of other little colours in them?
There's more than 2 colours there.
More 100%. I mean, last time we had all sorts of confusion about the stripes thing, which felt simple. This one also feels simple. There's some argument about it in our Slack. Spain has red, they have yellow, they have green, and they have white on their flag. You just got to look closely.
Blue
Portugal
as well,
is-
too, right? I think
Yeah,
there's some blue in the tiny little crest.
Oh, there is. You're 100% right. Got to zoom in.
hogs.
Got to enhance. Portugal has white, yellow, blue, red, and green. I mean, it's just too many. It's just too many. I think the very nature of the specifics of this question tilt the scales pretty heavily in favor of the 3 color flag countries, is my 2 cents. Because 3 color flags, you get France, the Netherlands, and Belgium, again, doing some real heavy lifting. Italy and Germany. I mean, the list kind of goes on. There we go. Wales, Hungary, Czechia, Slovakia. I'm not drawing from those nations so much, but the fact that you get so many powerhouses.
USA.
Well, I was only doing UEFA.
They're not really in Europe.
from Brazil.
Fine.
Yeah, for UEFA only. Like looking at the 2 color flag countries, your heavy hitters are England, and that's kind of it. You have Switzerland, you have Denmark, you have Austria,
Scotland.
you have Turkey, Scotland, of course.
World Cup
My
qualifier.
mistake. You have Poland. I think there's a real spot for Loa on this list. You have Sweden, so you have quality, but I don't think you have as much top end quality. So I did build an 11.
You've killed us taking out Spain and Portugal from the 2 colours, basically.
I
You
didn't
mean,
kill
you
it.
mean reading the question? Is that what you mean?
Brazil,
You killed it.
Brazil has set
There's
out
nuance here.
the
There's
requirements.
nuance
Why are you complaining? Joe's going to read out an England team right now.
I have 11s unless someone wants to go first with any more nuance for this question.
Well, I'm just in trouble because I read the question as you did, Joe, except obviously with what I've just said, I had it as world. So I did not make it European. So that is a problem because both my fullbacks are not European. So I'm going to have to do some reconfiguring.
Oh, no, actually, I think you should leave it, Taylor, and I'll do the European only, and then I'm curious so it sounds like you have 11s for a worldwide version of this question. Is that right?
I mean, yes, for the two color one.
Okay,
Because the other ones you've already outlined.
I'm curious to hear it. So let me read my 11s, and you guys can tell me which one you think is better. So I'll start with the two color countries in Europe. I have Gregor Kobel from Switzerland as my goalkeeper. I have Reece James as one of my outside backs. I have Miles Lewis-Skelly Yar as the other one. I have Andres Christensen and David Alaba as the center backs. Good point. Good point, Ryan. I have Declan Rice and Jude in my midfield pairing. And then my attack, I've gone with Cole Palmer on one wing, Bukayo Saka on the other wing, and then Kane and Lewandowski through the middle. I think it's a good team. It's like a little tactically dysfunctional, but whatever. My 3 color flag countries. I have Thibaut Courtois, Jules Koundé, Saliba, Upamecano, Teo Hernandez, Tchouaméni, Camavinga, De Bruyne, and then I have Elise on one wing, Mbappe on the other, and Haaland through the middle. I just feel like that team's better. Isn't it? Isn't the 3 color countries a bit better?
Give me your defense again.
Yeah, are you missing a country, Joe? Hold on, do it again.
Koundé. Oh, now I'm scared. Saliba, Upamecano, and
That's
Teo
the one.
Hernandez.
Oh, Joe.
What have I done? Someone
Joe,
tell me what have I
Missed
done?
your guy.
You've
the
missed your
greatest
guy.
player of all time. Surely, you've not
Virgil
got
van Dijk.
Oh,
any players in here.
VVD, of course. Yeah, it's an oversight.
I was
this,
like, I
this
can't-
didn't get
no.
proofed by my proofreader, so this
can't
is
be.
all.
No
This can't
1v1s
be.
in this.
VVD, of course. VVD's in the team. But the 3 color flags in Europe are just so hard to beat, man. England
Yeah.
can do a lot, and they get a little help, but I don't know that they get enough help.
Yeah.
And who's your
My-
striker? Who's your striker, Joe?
For which team?
For the 3 stripe.
For the
Or for the
3
three
stripe
color,
team, I have Holland as my striker with Mbappe on the left and Elise on the right.
Yeah. So,
Okay, cool. Same.
Yeah, and my
quite
two colour team is Jordan Pickford in goals, Miles Lewis-Skelly at left back, John Stones, Ezri Konsa at centre back, Reece James right back, and then Declan Rice, Elliot Anderson in central midfield, Jude Bellingham as the number 10, Marcus Rashford on the left, Saka on the right, and Harry Kane as the centre forward.
I like Graham's team.
I mean, that's And I appreciate Joe trying to get like Gregor Kobel in there, and like he's a good goalkeeper.
100% my team's better than the one you just built, Graham. Sure.
Who did I-
You just
who-
read off an England 11 from the
I
recent
did,
friendly.
yeah, because that's the right answer. Who were the others that you?
Christensen and Alaba are better than
Alaba.
Konza and Stones. I believe that firmly.
I had-
Alaba has barely played for
I
like
had
2
Alaba and
years.
Stones. You shut
Quiet
your mouth,
down,
Graham.
Graham.
Yeah. And then
Let's go.
if we make it, and I have McTominay in my midfield. I had it. If I'm going European now,
Which
Sibley,
you are.
I guess it would be Skelly, Alaba, Stones, Reece James, Jordan Pickford, Declan Rice, and Scott McTominay at the base. Jude Bellingham ahead. Eze, Kane, and Saka as my front three. And then if I was making it a World 11, it's basically the same thing, except it would be Alphonso Davies as my left back and Achraf Hakimi as my right back.
Nice. Okay.
I mean, if
that
I'm trying
makes
to
sense.
force Scots into this team, surely I know he's getting on now and fading slightly, but Robertson's surely still in the conversation for left back. I can maybe sway that one.
be
as
in
well.
conversation.
He's in the conversation. Yeah, we can talk about whatever we want, Graham.
Thanks.
Free country for now.
So, Taylor, was the world aspect, did that alter your 3-color flag lineup at all, or no?
Not really, because I think the best team outside of like the top 5 or 6 that you listed from Europe would be maybe Colombia. And I like at that point it's like I had Colombia, USA, Iran, Norway, but Holland's in there. Czechia, Ivory Coast. No, I think France, Netherlands, Belgium, Italy, and Germany will get you
Heavy
there.
lifting. Got it.
Argentina was the one that I had a question about because obviously they've got the blue, they've got the white, they've got the gold and the star, but then you zoom in and there's like different shades of gold. So I don't think they count as a three color flag either. So I would move them out of the equation too. But
Yeah,
if you could,
the color gradient, that is complicated. Good point.
yeah. But to Ryan's interpretation, I do think it massively changes if you count Spain as a 2-color. And then I guess you'd be counting Argentina as a 2-color by that metric as well. So that would give you a bit more to play with. Not a ton, I would say, but a bit more.
Portugal as well are in that equation. That gets you a left back.
Portugal
That
is
gets
so
you
obviously
Mendes.
not a 2-color one, though. I struggle with that one because that badge is just like you can see. With Spain, you have to really zoom in to be like, okay, yeah, there's more than the couple colors I thought. With Portugal, it's pretty obvious. You've got multicolors in there.
Yeah.
Wow.
But yes, I hear you, Graham, all the same.
I thought I was going to really like the flag question, then all it turned out to do was prop up Ryan's ego. I wish this had gone differently.
This guy picks the questions, just saying.
Well, I mean, it props up Brian's ego in the sense that the country or the team that is mostly his countrymen loses to the other team badly.
Nice. Good point, Taylor. Thank you for
That's
saying
only when he watches them. Most international breaks, he doesn't even do that. so-
Correct. I've watched more Scotland in this break than I have England.
And you were better for it.
Indeed. We all were, Graham. We all were indeed. Brazil, thank you very much indeed for your contribution to our episode and to everybody who has submitted a question. If you'd like to do so, you can go to totalsoccershow.com/questions, or you can take Joseph Lowry's preferred route. He insists that you go to our Discord and ask in our channel there. Patreon.com/totalsoccershow to support us. A please and a thank you. But for now, Taylor Rockwell, thank you very much indeed for your flag analysis and much, much more, sir.
Thank you, my friend. It was my pleasure.
Joe Lowry, thank you again, sir.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you, Graham.
Thank you, Ryan Bailey.
And thank you very much, listener, for joining us this week. As always, we appreciate you. We'll be back on the feed very shortly. But for now, bye.